Hey everybody, welcome back to Common Knowledge. We're going to do things a little bit differently today. I follow this Magic the Gathering content creator, Spratic here, and I think they are just one of the best, if not the best, Pauper channels on YouTube. So if you're not following them, go check them out. Spratic started doing kind of these community tournament challenges. And while I don't actually play on MTGO, where everybody plays for Pauper stuff online, I do find the ideas of these challenges interesting, and I like building decks for them when they happen. So the actual the off meta part, the restriction that is happening here is Spratic is giving us the ability to play lands, which is good. You need lands to cast spells. But outside of lands, we are only allowed a single type of card. And that type cannot be creatures, because that would be maybe too easy. So instead, you got to build a deck with that restriction and see what you can do. So I thought that'd be fun. That'd be a fun way to build a deck. I would like to do that. And also maybe this would give me an opportunity to show you guys out there how I build decks, how I go about the process of building a deck. Okay, in terms of deck building websites, there's a bunch of them out there. And I would say I don't necessarily use the best one, but I actually really like Tapped Out. Tapped Out for building the deck itself. And then very inefficiently, I will import that deck into Moxfield later because I think the Moxfield layout is nicer for me and other people to look at. But when it actually comes to building the deck itself, I kind of prefer Tapped Out. It's where I build all my decks first. Okay, why don't we build a deck? Now, the first deck I was really thinking of when I was thinking about this challenge was kind of an artifact deck, and I think an artifact deck is maybe an even stronger way to go. But then people were talking about it in the Discord, and somebody brought up the idea of enchantments. And I was thinking about enchantments more, and when I think about enchantments in Pauper, I think about Bogles decks. Well, you can't play the Bogles because those are creatures, but could you play enchantments that make creatures that you could then put your enchantments on as if they were Bogles? That leads us back to Scryfall, our good old Scryfall here. And I think the first thing we want to do here is go to Advanced, and we know we're going to look for enchantments. And for this first one, this first kind of core part of the enchantment part of our deck, I want to see if we can get creature token. And let's put quotes around that. I believe quotes means we'll get the full thing instead of just any card that says token or creature. We're going to make sure we get those. Generally, I think for Bogles, I'd want to still stay in Selesnya, white and green. But for now, I'm going to just kind of leave it where it is. And of course, the most important part is we want it only to be legal in Pauper. So what do we have? How many options do we have here that will see enchantments that make creature tokens? 20 cards. That's a good short list to start pulling from here. And we can start looking over these pretty quickly. Cartouche of Solidarity is one that is used in Bogles decks to keep sacrifice effects. Like it gives you an extra guy when it comes into play. Problem is, you need a guy in play for this to attach to first, I'm pretty sure. I don't believe you can have the cartouche, because you have to target something with your enchantment. I don't believe you can play the cartouche and then put the cartouche on the actual token. But this is a good card. I think I'm gonna have a tab for that one, because that is probably something that we would like to play. You know what? The channel ability is interesting. It gives us a way of playing at instant speed, which is not something we'd always be able to do with enchantments. And it can enchant a creature. So if we already have a creature, this is another buff, and it's ramp technically. I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but I'm not loving it. All right, I think this is going to be a winner here. Is the grand entryway. When I unlock this enchantment, it creates a 1/1 white glimmer enchantment creature token. I like that. I also like that the token is an enchantment itself, so that's going to work with even more enchantments like the ethereal armor, or like the mask of memory. No, not mask of memory. The ethereal mask. That's the one we're looking for. And then also those other sides, not terrible either. When you unlock this door, you put a +1/+1 encounter on each of up to 2 target creatures. That's pretty good. That might be a core to the deck. Hopeful Vigil, I think, is also a core to the deck here. When it enters, you create a 2/2 White Knight creature token with Vigilance. That's going to be a solid creature for us to use. 2 mana is not too bad. And then when this goes to the graveyard from the battlefield, you scry 2, and you can sack it. So you could sack it to get the scry, but it could just stay on the battlefield and be another enchantment. We like those. Flash enchantments are always cool. When it enters, you make 2 1/1 white humans, and you gain 2 life. A little life gain, can scry, flash speed. Flash speed's really nice if somebody goes artifacts and tries to do like a tithing blade or, well, I guess mostly just a tithing blade. You flash that in, you put another couple creatures out, and you can sacrifice something else. I don't hate that. Presence of Gond. It's interesting being able to have a creature that taps to make more creatures. I don't hate it, but I also don't necessarily love it. So, of what we have here, I think the most important ones are this Grand Entryway and Elegant Rotunda. So let's go ahead and get 4 of those in the deck. Hopeful Vigil, I think, is also going to be a pretty important one here. So that gives us 8 creatures. And we need one of these on the board early. Although, actually, you know what we're also going to very much want is a Colony Garden. And we'll want 4 of those. Enters tapped. When it enters, you make a 0/1 green plant creature token. And you tap to add green. Pretty good. We don't mind that at all. In fact, I think another thing I'm going to do is make another advanced search here. And I'm going to search for land. That also says creature token. And is there anything else Colony Garden-esque? Not particularly. Cradle of the Accursed, Pain 3. It's really Pain 4 because you have to sacrifice the land here too. You make a 2/2 zombie. And then Dwarven Mine, if we're playing a lot more mountains, we get the creature token. I don't think we're going to be playing a lot more mountains. Red does not seem to be the color that we want to go here. So I think our 4 Colony Gardens is going to be what it has to be. Okay, that leaves us with 12 creatures, 12 spells that make creatures. I don't mind that, or 12 cards that make creatures. That's halfway decent. We'd probably like that to be a little higher, but the idea is also if we add in like Cartouche of Solidarity now, once you get one of these out, you're able to enable getting more. So let's go ahead, knowing that that's a problem, and get our Cartouche of Solidarity. I think Careful Cultivation is maybe a little bit more expensive than we want. Actually, you know what? Never mind. This is because it can channel and make a it's basically another thing that it's a 2 mana creature maker. So that's actually really useful for us. That gives us another potential 4 cards to use. So Careful Cultivation, that was called? Yeah, Careful Cultivation. That's nice. And oh god, that's channel. So like this is instant speed. Instant speed uncounterable. I like that. I like that as getting some creatures on the board. That's going to be a great card. Let's look through the rest of these, see if we need them. We already have the Hopeful Vigil in there. Night Soil. I'm going to go ahead and put a couple copies of this in the maybe board. Nurturing Presence. When it enters, you get it gets the creature buffing, but it is whenever a creature enters. We're not going to have a whole lot of creatures enter. Yeah, it does make a flyer. Flyer is nice. But I think this is probably one we don't need. Omen of the Sun. Again, a flash speed. This is just another flash speed make a guy, and it gains a little life, which isn't too bad, but Bogles, we're going to put in other things that gain life. But as another, basically a creature, and a creature at flash speed, even at 3 mana, a 3 mana 1/1 doesn't sound great, but in this format where it's so locked up and so limited of what you could do, I think Omen of the Sun might actually not be the worst idea here. And then Valor of the Worthy. It is some protection, I suppose, if we get blown out. I'm going to also put a couple of these in the maybe board as well. We're going to want 4 of my favorite card, one of my favorite cards ever. It is Armadillo Cloak. Gotta get that invasion art. 4 of those. They're just too good. 2/2 and trample, and when it deals damage, you gain that much life. This rules. This just rules. What are the other ones that I mentioned? Obviously, ethereal armor. It is uncommon in Dustmorn, but it is common pretty much everywhere else. So we're going to get 4 copies of ethereal armor. Ancestral Mask. I say ethereal mask before. I'm looking for ancestral mask from Mercadian Masks. Ancestral Mask, very important. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 for each other enchantment on the battlefield. If I do go up against another Bogles deck, this is the card you really, really want. Or another enchantment-based deck, this is the card you really, really want because it counts all the enchantments on the battlefield, not just yours. So Ancestral Mask. All right, that is really the core of our deck. I think most of the other stuff can be a little bit open on what we want to do. Those things are probably the most important. A couple things that I would also want to consider is a little bit of removal, considering how things go. But if I do go up against another deck that is like Bogles and is trying to make creatures and do something with those creatures, I want to have ways of stopping that. Journey to Nowhere, it does exile a creature. That's not bad. It is another enchantment that'll just sit on the battlefield. That's also not bad. It's something. It's something. I think I'm probably going to put a couple of these in the sideboard for now. Another thing, I forgot what it's called exactly. Not Containment Priest, but anything else with containment here? Yeah, Minimus Containment. I think this might be something, right? Enchanted Permanent is a treasure artifact with tap and sack this artifact to add 1 mana. I'm not 100% sure because you are giving your opponent ramp. I don't love that. It does work on any non-land permanent, though, so that's kind of nice. I'm going to put a couple of these in the maybe board right now, too, just as a way of shutting down something really important. If your opponent plays like a Golem Foundry, putting this on the Golem Foundry will stop that from being a problem. That's pretty good. Oh, I also forgot in obvious cards that need to go in. Wild Growth for sure needs to get in there. Let's get 4 copies of that, and Utopia Sprawl, originally from Dissension. It's not actually. I know this only matters to me, but Utopia Sprawl, I think was uncommon in. Nope, it's common in Dissension, uncommon in some other places. So let's stick with the Dissension one, just so we keep them all there. So we'll do 4 for that. Utopia Sprawl does have to enchant a forest, though, so we have to make sure we have a good amount of forests that will make that work. And I suppose you could also do Abundant Growth. Card advantage, draws a card when it enters. Enchanted land has tap for a mana of any color. Could be potentially useful if we do need fixing, so I don't mind. And again, it's something that cantrips and is an enchantment that's on the table. That's even potentially more important than the fixing. So we'll get 4 of these in here as well. How are we feeling? How do we feel at this point? What if we just went for more of a basic search? We go enchantments. So I know we're not playing Commander here, but it's useful to just make sure that it only gives us green or white cards. And sometimes when I know you can play around with these things and give it something more specific, but I think this helps where you don't necessarily get, a Gruul card because it's green. I know I could say exactly those colors or at most those colors, but Commander also just kind of helps to weed a lot of that stuff out. And we'll go not Vintage. We're not playing Vintage here. Let's go Pauper, and then let's say that its mana value is less than or equal to 3. I don't think we want to play much that's bigger than 3 here. So let's search with this. There's going to be a ton of these. 307 cards. And that's a lot to go through. We're not going to go through 307 cards. What I will do just as this is not very scientific. This is maybe the least scientific, but I'm going to go through EDH rank here EDH rec rank. Easy for me to say. And see. Oh, I already noticed a problem. There was a creature there. We gotta go back and say no creatures. Okay, so we dropped another 17 cards. Good, good. EDH rec rank and see what else they have here. Ranker. Ah, of course, Ranker's one I forgot. That's helpful. That is in the deck, and that is in the normal Bogles deck, and it should absolutely be here as well. Ranker is so good. So good. We'll get 4 copies of Ranker in here. Snake Umbra is interesting. It's another way of drawing cards. The totem armor keeps the creature alive. I think that's potential something to look at. Banishing Light's actually not bad. Any of these Oblivion Ring, Banishing Light kind of effects, probably pretty good at removing some real threats. The Journey to Nowhere takes care of creatures, but we're not going to see as many creatures here, so Banishing Light probably becomes even better. First Strike, I don't think we have anything that gives us First Strike right now, so that could be pretty useful. The Totem Armor also very good for that. That's something to consider. Ooh, yes. These ways of removing artifacts or enchantments, these right here, excuse me, these right here are sideboard cards for sure. We definitely want those. I don't think we have anything that gives flying yet, so drawing a card and giving a creature flying is pretty useful. So Spirit Link's good. Actually, no, Spirit Link is good. Life Link can't stack, but these abilities can stack with Armadillo Cloak. So we'll probably want a couple of Spirit Links just to slow down burn even more. Oblivion Ring like effects, like we said, are pretty good. That's something to consider. If we have a way to sacrifice enchantments at instant speed, you can do some really screwed up things by playing this, and then while the triggers are on the stack, you sacrifice the Oblivion Ring. So the thing that you exile will never come out of exile because this thing's already left before the trigger can happen. That's pretty fun. Benevolent Blessing, actually, this is a pretty good card. I just put this in a different deck, but as a way of giving protection from a color is pretty good, and it even doesn't remove any auras that you already have on the creature. 2 mana flash speed, that's like an instant speed an instant speed protection spell. You're not going to see as many of those in enchantments that we're going to need. Chains of Custody I was potentially thinking of as well. Actually, I think this might be one that we use as well. Chains of Custody. Chance creature you control. When it enters, you exile target non-land permanent opponent controls until this leaves the battlefield. But an enchanted creature has Ward 2. Giving Ward 2 to one of our creatures, that's not hexproof exactly, but it's getting there. It's getting there. Dog Umbra might be one that we are looking for here. This is a pacifism effect, but it's also an Umbra armor effect as well. So having that kind of totem armor is pretty sweet, and it's also at flash speed, so it's kind of another protection spell. I don't necessarily mind that. Sentinel's Eyes is pretty good, and being able to escape it if somebody does kill your creature and this is on it, that's probably something to consider as well. I do like Trapped in the Screen. I think we can do this, because this is going to be better than the Banishing Light, because we don't care about planeswalkers or battles or things like that, because there aren't any that are Pauper legal. So we really are only dealing with artifacts, creatures, or enchantments from a permanent standpoint, and having the Ward 2 on this is really good. And here we go. I definitely want the Mask of Long Grace, and then the other one, Shield of Duty and Reason. We'll remember that. That is a pretty important one as well. Oh, there you go. Shield of Duty and Reason. We've seen Bequeathal be used a number of times, just as another card advantage thing. That's kind of interesting. It's kind of interesting. We can grab one of those and see. You know what? Aura Fracture might be an interesting sideboard card as a way of dealing with specifically enchantment-based decks if we're going up against somebody else. Our lands are going to be somewhat important, but at the same time, I think those could eventually be a resource that we can throw away if we needed to. We also haven't put any lands in here outside of the Colony Garden yet, so that's I know we have way too many cards, but that's fine. I would rather have too many and cut down than not enough and feel like we're pawing at scraps. Okay, I think that's a lot of cards, and we are going to see how many cards that is And 77 enchantments and 4 lands right now. That's not great. Our sideboard's 29 more cards, and we still have another 6 in the maybe board. Obviously too much, and we need to put some lands in here. So let's let's start. Let's think. We're gonna probably want. Let's start by saying 20 lands. Let's do 6 of these because we already have the colony gardens, and then we'll go back in. And we'll get 10 of these because we don't have any of those so far. Although we might move a couple off basics and see if we can get some other stuff, because there are some other cool, useful lands that might be interesting to us. That leaves us with 97 cards. Way too many cards. But let's see where we're at. So type doesn't help us too much because they're mostly all enchantments. So let's go by converted costs and see how we're doing here. All right, these we're mostly viewing as 2-cost enchantments because that's what we're gonna use them most as. We have too many 3-cost enchantments here. This is just too much. We certainly don't need that many. Maybe we do drop the snake umbras, because in terms of umbras, we already have the hyenas and the dog umbras if we wanted to use that. So we have ways of keeping the creature alive. And I think we're going to draw enough cards already that we don't need the snake umbras. So that gives us something to work with. We know we're going to get rid of 4 of the Fertile Ground or the Utopia Sprawl. The Utopia Sprawl is the one single mana, and that's really why you like it. I think we're getting rid of all 4 Fertile Grounds. Let's reframe this for ourselves, and let's go to converted cost and look at them this way. Okay. What do these cards do for us? Let's ask these questions and see if there's anything that we feel is a little less important based on what we have. The Abundant Growth, this is ramp, this is draw, or not ramp, this is fixing, and this is draw, and it adds enchantments to our count. I think it's really solid. I don't really want to get rid of it. I think that Wild Growth and Utopia Sprawl are maybe slightly better because they are ramp and this one isn't. But the card draw is pretty good. I'm not ready to cut them all yet. I could see myself cutting a couple of these if we needed to, but right now I want to keep Abundant Growth in there. Bequeathal, I hate to like min-max a deck to go, well, we should never be in a losing position with this, because it's going to happen sometimes. And it's nice to have these. I'm worried that sometimes it'll just be a dead card in our hand. If we had more creatures in the deck, I'd feel more comfortable playing these. But not having as many creatures, I think we sometimes just don't have these cards in our hand, and that's probably not good enough. I'm going to end up cutting these. Actually, you know what? I'm going to put 1 in the maybe board just so we remember it if we ever need to go back and think about it. But I think I can delete these for now. Cartouche of Solidarity. I think this is pretty good. This is another way of getting first strike. The only question is, do we need these other creature tokens? How much creature removal are we going to go up against, and do we feel like we need it? And when I think about that, I think that sounds like it's more of a sideboard card than anything. So if we are going up against people with a lot of creature removal to stop the few creatures that are out there, maybe that's a more useful card. But for now, I think it can live in the sideboard, and we might even cut copies from there. One-off Sentinel's Eyes I like. The Rancor, I don't know if we necessarily need 4 of them, but they are a good 1-drop. They are a good 1-drop. I'm pretty happy with this. I think that gives us a lot of stuff to work with. Only 8 of these 12 of these are actually playable on turn 1, which is really nice because we won't have a creature for any of these other ones on turn 1. But you are able to get these things out, and that's pretty important. Now, remember, we have Utopia Sprawl here that only can target forests, only enchant forests, so we do need to make sure we play some more forests in this deck, or have a good amount of forests in this deck that this can touch upon. So remember that. Let's go to 2. We've got 12 cards that are at 2. We know that these are all extremely necessary to give us our creatures. That's going to probably be our main best creature to play on turn 2 when we can do that. I still think the dog umbras are pretty cool. I don't think we need 4, especially if we already have the hyena umbra, and we have other ways of protecting creatures if we need to. So let's go ahead and go down to 2 of those. And then I don't necessarily want to get rid of the angelic gifts. I do like the drawing cards. And the flying's not bad. It doesn't give a power boost, though, which is a bit of a bummer. So you know what, actually, since it doesn't give us a power boost, I'm going to drop down to 2 of those. And I might even be inclined to just end up putting them in the sideboard if necessary, in case we go up against a bunch of flyers. Let's go back to 3. We were all these felt pretty important, right? It does feel a little expensive, but also consider this is not really a 3-drop. This is another 2-drop because we're channeling this. And this is a 3-drop, but it's a 3-drop with flash, and that also makes a difference. I'm inclined to keep those around, and then, again, this is another 2-drop creature as well, so that's important. We need to cut down another 17 cards to make this a legal thing. I will say we probably don't need this many lands. 20 lands is probably too many. So let's go ahead and know that 18 is probably closer to what we're looking for. So 18 lands. Hey, wait. Oh, that says type. There you go. I was like, wait, we were not at 57. 75. That makes more sense. At the moment, let's take a look at the sideboard. We know we need to make some cuts here as well. I don't think the Journey to Nowhere is as necessary when we already have the Trapped in the Screens and potentially the Oblivion Rings. Yes, this is cheaper, but we're going to go up against a lot fewer creatures. Let's take both of those out. I think the one-off Aura Fracture is still a really funny include and could potentially be super useful against Bogle. If we go against the Mirror, I think this is a super important card. Benevolent Blessing, I think these are pretty good. I don't know if we necessarily need 4 of them, but as a protection spell, so it gives us it gives us that protection if somebody is trying to destroy the creature or kill the creature and target the creature in some other way. But it's also a way of us getting through unblockable if we're going up against a certain color of creature. Or a certain color of a deck that is making creatures of a certain color type. That's pretty good. Again, I don't know if we necessarily need 4, but you know what? I'll bump it down to 3 for now, and we'll see what else we need. Chains of Custody. I'm still not sure. I think I prefer the Trapped in the Screens over this. Like, yeah, it protects our creature a little bit, but we have other ways of protecting our creature. The Ward 2, I think, makes our creatures honestly more of a target than they probably need to be. Yeah, I think if we had those hexproof creatures, I'm feeling a little bit better about these. But I'm gonna move these to the maybe board. I think instead, put 2 of those in here, and we'll cut this out. Cartouche, we talked about before. I think it's still a pretty good include here. I don't know if we necessarily need 4, but I'm going to keep it in for now. We'll talk about Mask in a second here. Do we need more O-ring effects? We have 3. We have 3 in the main with the Trapped in the Screens. So here's the question: what does this do? This takes out a creature, an enchantment, or an artifact. This takes out a creature, an enchantment, or an artifact. These just take out artifacts or enchantments. And these go away from the battlefield. This doesn't. This continues to stick in for Ethereal Armor and Ancestral Mask and things like that. I think O-Ring is probably the better one here. Let's go ahead and go down to 1 each of these. How are we doing on the sideboard now? 20. Okay, 20. That's really close to a to a functional sideboard. Let's come back and see what we can cut from the last 5 for this, and then we'll go into our maybe board and see what else we probably want to handle here. I think we're at the point where we can just cut Chains of Custody. I think we're at the point where we could cut Minimus Containment. Yeah, I think we're at that point. I don't want to give them ramp, and if we do have a problem with their Golem Foundries or something like that, we do have Trapped on the Screen that works with that, and some other ways of removing enchantments entirely without that. I think that's okay. I could see going down to one of these, but I kind of like Night Soil as a way to just handle potential graveyard stuff and making more creatures. It's not bad. I'm going to put that back on the sideboard. And then I don't think these are all that necessary. No, I don't think those are all that necessary, and I don't think Bequeathal is necessary in this list either. In another list, very good card. In this list, I'm not 100% sure. So now we have to get rid of 6 cards from the sideboard. And this might not be the right way to do it. I might, the answer might be, hey, you should figure out your main board first and then figure out what you need left in the sideboard. And that's probably the better way of doing things. Let's see. Let's also see how long we've been doing this. We've been here for about an hour. I think that's all right for building a whole deck. Let's go back to converted cost. We're at 18 lands, 26 1-drops, 8 2-drops, 19 3-drops, which does, again, sound like a lot, but it's not really, because these are mostly going to be 2-drops. Yeah. So it's really you have 15 3-drops and 12, but then these aren't also 5-drops either. These are another 4 2-drops. So it's like we have 16. So if it's 18, 26, 16, and 15, that sounds a little bit better, right? That being said, I think maybe we can cut down one of these Omen of the Suns, maybe even 2. They are flash speed. I do like the flash speed. Yeah, let's go ahead and cut a second one. Just bring our curve down a little bit. I don't know. Is 2 more card draw spells that only give flying? Let's put these in the side for now. I don't think we're gonna go up, because we're not going up against a whole lot of creatures. I don't think we're going to go up against a whole lot of creatures with flying. You know what? I'm actually just going to cut these entirely. I think we'll be fine. And also, we're going to have so much potential life gain with this 1 lifelink and these 4 armadillo cloaks. And this also gains us a couple life as well. Like that's a lot of life gain. I'm kind of not worried about going down to other creatures like that. I think that could be okay. This is actually kind of card advantage in that it's 2 cards in 1. You put 1 down, and then later on another turn you unlock the other room. So that's a bit of card advantage in itself. I don't mind that. How we feeling? We're at 70. 10 cards away. We now got to get rid of 6 sideboard cards. Okay. Sentinel's Eyes is still pretty good. I was thinking about cutting that, but we do have 4 things with Vigilance already. So how useful is the Vigilance here? And the answer is, well, it gives us, we got 2, 6, 10, and 14 creatures that all don't hate having Vigilance. But is Vigilance all that necessary? Actually, you know what? I don't think Vigilance is all that necessary. Again, creatures are not going to be something we're going to deal with as much. It is nice that you have something that can come back from the graveyard if we needed it to. Yeah, I think we can cut it. And 5 pieces of protection in the main. That might be a little overkill in the main. We can go 1 more down on Hyena Umbra. What does that get us to? Is that 68? Yeah, 68 now. These are the tough cuts. This is where things get difficult. Okay, tell you what. We've been here an hour. I don't think this is the most interesting thing to look at. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at some lands real quick, and then what I'll have is the link to the finished deck in the description, so you can see where I ended up and what I cut. I don't think I'm going to add anything else crazy into this deck at this point. So this is probably the deck in some form or fashion, and we'll figure it out. Also, here's another fun little trick. Because lands are colorless, you can't click on these, but if you put them in commander colors, then they're only going to give you the ones for commander. Although, actually, another idea is, like, should I just put a Bojuka Bog in here? Just a one-off Bojuka Bog, just in case? Just in case? I think the answer is yeah. I think the answer is yes. You put one Bojuka Bog. And I want that Worldwig one, baby. Put in one Bojuka Bog. What's our color situation right now? It's man, pretty 50-50. So let's go ahead. We really need green 1-drops though. So I think we drop actually another plains. Especially because 4 of our green sources are both not forests and come into play tapped. In fact, I think I'm probably going to want to drop one more plains and add one more forest. Knowing that the forests, if we do get to play Utopia Sprawl, we choose white, so that fixes Abundant Growth. We choose white, so that fixes. Honestly, let's do that instead. That feels right to me. Yes, it feels like it's very green heavy when you look at our mana. The inside one is our mana sources. The outside one is our costs, as you can see. But I think it's really important to hit green on turn 1, so you're able to do your ramp/fix. That's pretty important. And see, most of our stuff is green for our 1-drops. So that's pretty important. I don't know if the one off Bojuka Bog is really that necessary, but I kind of like thinking about it like that, just on the off chance. Okay, we're going back to other lands that we can think of. So lands in green or white versions here, and Pauper Legality. Okay, there's a lot of these. We don't really need life gain here. That's not important. Well, we might want some a duel. Do we want a duel in here? I don't think so, because we're not going to be. We don't have any cyclers to get them. And while, yes, it's another something you could put Utopia Sprawl on, you'd rather just have regular forest for that. So I don't think we need any fetch lands in here. A Gates package is interesting, but we're buffing so much, I don't think we really need a Gates package. Conduit pylons, that does give you a little bit of fixing, and also a little bit of card selection here with the Surveil. Not terrible, but I think most of our cards are so cheap and they're a single pip, I don't think we want to have colorless if we can help it. The deserts are fun, but again, I don't really want a tapped mana base here. I think the answer is we're just not going to want anything here. There was actually another thought I had, is we want to say enchant lands in green or white colors, which I did a search for this on I guess it's a future episode. It's past to me, but it's future for you. Episode of the rating Pauper cards, and this seemed kind of interesting. I don't know if these necessarily go in the deck, but they are an interesting idea. Harmonious Emergence is pretty good. 4 mana. It enchants a land you control. Enchanted land's a 4/5 green spirit creature with vigilance and haste. It's still a land, and then it sacrifices. It's kind of like Umbra Armor for the land. So that's kind of cool, right? Turn one of your lands into a 4/5 creature, and then put a bunch of auras on that. But if somebody destroys it and they lose the aura, then this, you lose all the auras on this because this goes back to being a land. I guess actually it keeps the other auras on it, right? So if I got another one, I don't know. I don't know if we necessarily need this. It's an interesting idea though. Nissa's Zendikon is also kind of interesting. It's this one just gives you reach and haste with the 4/4. And when a channel land dies, you return that card to its owner's hand. So you actually come down on mana. That's not as good. The last one was better. And then this Vastwood Zendikon, it turns your creature into, or turns your land into a crawl worm. Okay, I like a crawl worm. When a enchanted land dies, you return it to. Yeah, so you also lose out on the mana value there. I think these are interesting though. Hey, if you are playing an aura deck, this is a way of getting another big creature on the board. Which, there aren't a whole lot of ways of getting creatures on the board. It's an idea. It's an idea, but I don't think you need it. So we have a 68 card deck here with a 21 card sideboard. Obviously, not all this stuff can stay in. But I think we've got something here. I think this is a pretty cool monotype deck that could do some work. Let's go ahead and save so you guys can see. This is what the deck looks like for now. So like I said, I think link will be in the description of the actual final list. You can decide then whether you think this is cool. If you have any other suggestions for the deck, something I might have missed, another enchantment that might be really useful in here, let me know. Put it in the comments below. If you want to try one of these monotype decks yourself and send a list out, or just show up on the Sporadic Discord. Come out to Sporadic's channel, see his stuff, and have a good time. But this was just a little way to see like how I build decks, what I'm thinking about, where I start cutting, thinking about curves and things like that, seeing how some of this information, this data can be a little misleading, knowing that, okay, well, hey, there were cards that I was only going to channel for 2, so they're really 2 drops, seeing that these things are also really 2 drops or 3 drops, depending on which room you do. Some of this data is a little weird. Why would you want this many green sources? Well, it's because we play Utopia Sprawl. That's important when you play these kinds of decks. So sometimes you can't just take these things for at face value. You got to dig a little bit deeper into the data, and that's how I build these decks. So I will make this unprivate and put that link out there once this deck is done. But look forward to that, and I'll see you next time. Bye. All right, hello, we're back. As you can see, I have now finished the deck and moved it over to Moxfield. And now we can go through it, and I can show you the finished product. I did actually end up making a couple little changes here. Mostly just cut down on some of the stuff that we already had, got fewer versions of things. Where are my other notes here of the changes that I made? I will say the first big change is I took out the night soil from the sideboard. Didn't read that properly. It said exile 2 creature cards from a graveyard, and there are no creature cards in this format that we're doing. This rule set that we're doing, so that card was useless. So instead, I do just have the Bajuka Bog here as a way to do some graveyard hate. I don't think you really want more than one. Maybe you could put more in the sideboard, I suppose. But it's whatever. I also moved Trapped in the Screen from the main deck to the sideboard. I think on game 1, because you're imagining these are going to be best of 3 games. Game 1, I think you really just want to go more aggressive, and this list allows you to go more aggressive, more traditional Bogles style aggression. So if we do come up against something that is messing us up and we need to switch to a more control-y kind of gameplay, that's where we can bring in some of these Trapped in the Screens. I did have another idea to bring in, thinking about the mirror match, like, I should have like a Standard Bearer, and Standard Bearer is a creature, you can't use that, but there is Coalition Flag, and I was like, Coalition Flag, that's basically the same as an enchantment, this is perfect. That's only an uncommon, so that's disappointing. I really wanted that one in there. But now I've moved all the removal stuff, the Trapped in the Screen, the Dog Umbra into the sideboard, and reduced some of these things. I think like the Mask of Law and Grace, the Shield of Duty and Reason, Benevolent Blessing. I think maybe it was at 4 at one point, and now it's down to 3. But I think those give us a lot of different options on things we can do. And I bumped up to 2 Aura Fracture, thinking, okay, if we don't have the coalition flag, how do we stop the mirror? This is maybe the only real good thing we have to stop the mirror. But I guess Trapped in the Screen can also do a little bit of that. Anything else here? I don't think so. I think this was just pretty solid. Go down to 3 Wild Growth and 3 Rancor, down a couple of Hyena Umbras. Just, hey, it's a little bit of protection. Sure, that's nice, but we already have ways of getting first strike with the ethereal armor. So just trying to cut down little places where we could without taking away too many of the creature potential things. We still have 18 ways of getting creatures based on this list, and I think that's pretty good. Lands wise, I think we're sitting pretty comfortably here. You really do want more green sources that you can put those abundant growths, those wild growths, or those Utopia Sprawls on turn 1 with. That's really important. Or if you're playing a Colony Garden to get the creature down on turn 1, being able to have those on turn 2 or something. But having those green sources really important early. In fact, I could even see going down to 5 plains and 8 forests. They're really that important. But knowing that our sideboard is entirely white, that I think maybe having the 6 plains in here is pretty good. I would kind of test it either way, and if you feel like you're just getting too many white sources and need to jump over to more green, you could certainly do that. But this is the deck. I feel pretty good about it. I guess here I can run through the primer here for you, I suppose. It's kind of what we talked about. Here's just the rules of what happens here when you can't play something like Slippery Bogle or Solana Ledgewalker. What do? Hopeful Vigils, that 2/2 creature that we like, and it's just an enchantment that stays on the battlefield. Careful Cultivation is really good as having that channel ability to kind of play a creature at flash speed that is more or less uncounterable because it's a channel ability. They have to have a stifle effect for that. That's pretty sweet. And also, if you do already have enough creatures, this gives a +1/+3 and gives reach, which could be useful to you. And also, it becomes a mana. Well, you either make a mana dork or you make something into a mana dork by letting it tap for 2 green. That's always good as well. Pretty good stuff there. And then I also really like this Grand Entryway, Elegant Rotunda. Grand Entryway especially as a 2 mana creature, but it also puts 2 enchantments on the table. Because the room here that goes on the table, that's an enchantment. Plus the Glimmer creature is an enchantment creature. So that can be a big deal when you're putting an ethereal armor on something. It just ups the count for that. That's pretty good. And the Elegant Rotunda, just another couple +1/+ encounters if you're later in the game and need something to do with your mana. Here you go. That's kind of card advantage a little bit. We did take out most of the card advantage pieces that we have. We only have the abundant growths for the card advantage here for drawing a card, and that only really cantrips, so you're not getting a heck of a lot of extra value out of it. But it is something. Other traditional Bogles stuff here, Utopia Sprawl, which we've seen helping for fixing, helping for ramp. Armadillo Cloak, just an awesome card. Ethereal Armor and Ancestral Mask are kind of the core of the deck, as they are in traditional Bogles decks as well. I need to highlight the Hyena Umbra in here, but knowing that you have squishy creatures here that don't have hexproof and are very targetable, having Hyena Umbra to give you some sort of protection keeps them on the board. Benevolent Blessing and Dog Umbra in the sideboard also will help to keep creatures on the table. That's really important. And then, as we mentioned here in the mirror match, having Aura Fracture can be just a huge blowout of being able to take out a bunch of enchantments at instant speed that you have to sacrifice lands for. But later in the game, when you have a lot of lands, this is a deck that also really only needs 2, maybe 3 mana to really get its engine started. I don't think you necessarily need those extra lands, and you will trade those lands to destroy your opponent's enchantments all day, every day, and feel pretty darn good about it. But you do have the Trapped in the Screens as well to handle pesky artifacts or enchantments that the opponent's playing, or if they get their own creature tokens, this kind of rules as a way of just removing those creatures entirely, because once they get exiled as a creature token, they're gone for good. So I think that's pretty good. Like I said, here we have 18 sources here that can generate creatures, and I think that leads us into a pretty good spot. I'm pretty happy with this deck. Let me know if you see anything in here that should change, what you would change, how you might do something differently. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. But I am pretty happy with this Bogleless Bogles deck, and we'll catch you in the next one. See you then.